Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Monday, the 8th of November. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this morning by Jonny McFarlane. How are we doing this Monday morning, Jonny?
Good, mate. I'm full of beans because I'm delighted to have the big man back alongside me here on the morning. It was just getting too highfalutin. It was getting too intellectual with Josh. I've got my buddy back to talk about nonsense, so I'm happy.
Yeah, ditto. And before we look into yesterday's events, folks, remember if you're watching us on YouTube, just to hit the subscribe button on there so you'll never miss a video when we go live, and also to take advantage of the Rangers Review website as well. Subscribe now to support top quality journalism covering the club you love. Okay, Jonny, let's look back at yesterday's events. Rangers beating Ross County by 4-2, but going behind first, as is the norm this season. But great to score 4 goals. We've seen the Ryan Kent obviously marking his return to Ibrox with a goal. We've seen Ryan Jack come on as well. Lots of positives to take from the game yesterday.
Yeah, I suppose probably just going through it, starting with the negatives first. I did think it was a really good performance, but obviously, given Ross County scored first, probably that's where we'll start. Basically, having looked at the goal 3 or 4 times, I think the goal came after 5 minutes, Derek. Yeah. I've got no doubt that it was the fault of Connor Goldson, who was trying to play offside. Leon Balogun steps up just at the right moment, and if Connor Goldson does the same thing, then the lad is offside. But unfortunately, Goldson tries to read the line, and he's looking across the line as he does it, and just gets it wrong. I think the boy was onside by an absolute sliver. I think Steven Gerrard said after the game he thought it was off, but I've seen it slow down, Derek. I don't know what you think. I just don't think it's offside. I mean, it could be VAR style offside in the English Premiership.
Yeah,
but I'm not having that as offside. So
yeah.
I thought it was a really good bit of play by the boy. Is it Cook? Cook. He's got a double-barreled surname in midfield, who I think is a decent player, and then a great finish underneath Al McGregor. So credit to Ross County, and I thought they actually looked quite good going forward, and that's something that we probably should remember. It's tempting to look at Ross County and think, well, they're down there at the bottom of the league, but they're actually the third top scorers. Or they were. I think Hearts scored 5, obviously, at the weekend, so maybe they've overtaken them now. But they're one of the best attacking sides in the league. So I thought they showed that yesterday when they had a bit of cutting edge about them when they got going forward. But obviously, Rangers dominated after that. They didn't even really get knocked out of their stride. They kept moving the ball about. It was one of the best performances of the season. And there's just a creeping sense, Derek, that slowly but surely they're starting to find that form again. They're just looking more like themselves.
Yeah, well, that's 10 goals, of course, in the last 2 league encounters. In terms of that losing that first goal again, Jonny, it's a thing now, isn't it? It is a thing and it's something that, I mean, you could look at it positively and think Rangers are doing extremely well to fight back from a goal down, giving teams a head start pretty much. But I'm sure Steven Gerrard and the coaching staff and every single Rangers supporter inside Ibrox yesterday would rather that not be the case.
Yeah, look, it's quite remarkable, Rangers' defensive record this season. 13 games played, 13 goals conceded. 38 games played last season, 13 goals conceded. So in 1/3 of the fixtures, they've conceded the same amount of goals. So it's clearly a huge issue compared to last term. There's no doubt about it. There's no sugarcoating it. Going forward, Rangers have found their attacking quality. There's no doubt about that. Celtic are getting praise to the hilt for the quality of their performances, and yet they've only scored 1 goal more.
Yeah. So
I think that tells you everything you need to know, that Rangers have suddenly found their feet once again. There's no question about that. But as you say, defensively, losing that first goal and just losing goals in general, there's 2 things that's happening at Rangers. One, and we've had a big article on this on the Rangers Review, is there's been big problems at set pieces, lots of goals coming from that area. And the second one is individual errors, like you saw yesterday. Both goals were individual errors. Calvin Bassey, for the second one, switches off completely and allows the lad coming in, Jordan White, in his space. It's just, I don't know what you would even call it, inexperience, perhaps just a lack of concentration. He just loses his man completely. It's a great finish by Jordan White. Give the boy credit. He's quite a good big player, actually. And he finds the bottom corner brilliantly. But that's two individual errors. And Gerrard was quite clear after the game, Rangers need to cut out these kind of mistakes, because at one point in the season it's going to come back and bite you hard.
Yeah, of course he scored it in Dingwall as well. Jordan White and big Rangers fan as well, so I'm sure he'd have enjoyed that goal. Joe Rebo, of course, equalised Jonny, and then let's talk about Ryan Kent, because his goal was sublime. I watched him in midweek when he got brought on against Brøndby. I thought he changed the game, set up the goal for Hadji, of course. His goal on yesterday was terrific as well. Rangers have missed him a lot, haven't they?
Yeah, and I thought the most interesting part of it was that he was back to the Ryan Kent that we knew from last season, not the Ryan Kent that we saw at the start of the season. And it was very interesting, his press conference comments the other day. He was talking about the fact he had multiple niggling injuries at the start of the season. Now, we were aware that he had the odd issue, but I don't think anyone was aware of perhaps the extent of the problems that were holding back Ryan Kent. So maybe this layoff, the hamstring injury, was just his body saying, right, no more of this. And that's what he needed to get away and just get himself clear of all these little complaints. Because the Ryan Kent we saw at the start of the season, just to reiterate, it was not the Ryan Kent that we all know from his last couple of seasons. There's just no way he touched anywhere near the levels that he's capable of. And yesterday, Derek, he was doing nutmegs. There was one moment that was just utterly sublime when he won a corner with a piece of ingenuity that was just remarkable. He's running towards the line. He's in complete control of the ball. He realises that he's going to run the ball out of play. There's nothing he can do apart from backheel the ball against the player that's tight to him and knock the ball out for a corner. So he's almost using the player as a wall to bounce the ball off for a corner. I thought it was a brilliant bit of skill, very, very creative. And that was before the goal. And then, of course, he hits the stunning strike, a dipping, curling, venomous shot. When you look at it from behind the goal, Derek, I thought maybe you think...
well, he should have got it, maybe.
The keeper's not in a brilliant moment there.
Yeah.
But when you see it again, I think from the different angles, you can see the pace. And the sheer pace of the ball is what takes it past the keeper. And it's an outstanding strike. Steven Gerrard called it world class. Listen, he knows a thing or two about that kind of shot. So I'll bow to his superior knowledge and then shut up about the goalie and just say, aye, top class.
Good to have Robert along with us. Hi, Robert. Good morning. I think we've missed Kent's clever play and trick or two. Sakala could learn a lot from him. Yeah, totally agree. I want to talk about...
Can I jump in on that, Derek?
Yeah.
I don't know, unless you're moving on to Fashion Sakala.
No. It's the floor is yours, Jonny.
Well, listen, I thought Fashion Sakala was terrific yesterday, and I think he was a key part in why the team played the way it did. I thought Gerrard was pretty clever. He didn't have a pop at Morelos or anything like that. It's not something that Steven Gerrard would ever do. But what he did do was he was pointed to praise Fashion Sakala for his effort, his work rate, and his movement in that number 9 position, which I thought was a marked change from how Alfredo Morelos has been interpreting the role. Not only was Sakala not doing that sort of Robert Firmino dropping into deep positions, but he was always on the shoulder. But he was also, mate, he was perpetual motion. He never stops. The guy, I'd love to see his stats for the amount of distance he's covered, because he just runs and runs and runs. He never stops pressing. You've sort of multiple situations in the game where he won the ball where he had no right to, because he's so quick. He gets out to players before they even know they have no time on the ball. And okay, he didn't score a goal, and okay, sometimes he's not technically brilliant. Other times he's actually, it's a weird thing with Fashion Sakala, because other times he'll do stuff and you go, wow, what a great moment, what a great step that was, or whatever. But then he'll lose the ball in a sort of ungainly situation where you think that's technically a bit off. But I thought he was really, really good in the game, and a key part to why Rangers looked so fluid and aggressive in forward areas.
Yeah, the manager said afterwards, it's good because he's able to rest Alfredo Morelos. I see it more as being dropped, Jonny. For me, I don't think he's pulling up trees recently. I think the drop out the team may be beneficial for him coming back in.
Oh, I wrote that last week when you were off in a column that I did. I absolutely think it's the right thing that Alfredo takes a wee duck out the team. Derek, I've been criticising him on this show, despite the fact I think he's a phenomenal player for quite a long time, just because I don't think he's putting enough graft in. And I think this is a crucial moment for Alfredo Morelos. He's got 18 months left on his contract. He's always seemed destined for bigger things than Rangers, although it's very difficult to find a bigger club, but certainly bigger leagues. I actually think now we're at a situation where clubs will look at his goal-scoring records and his assist records, and they'll just see a curve that just goes like this.
Yeah.
First season, I think he was 0.9 goals or assists per game. That's his first season under Gerrard. Second season under Gerrard was 0.83, so it's still really, really, really high. Third season, he's changed into that more deep lying role.
Yeah.
Goes down to 0.6, and then this season we're at 0.45. So every year it's going down. And while you would expect his goals to go down, given he's playing a slightly different position, you would not expect his assists to not then shoot up, because he's supposed to be creating more. That's the whole point. He's creating space for other players. So I just think Alfredo Morelos is not the player that he was. He's not the player that he can be, and I think he needs to reflect on that, because I think everyone would want to see the end of this Alfredo Morelos story, a hugely successful period in both his career and for Rangers, given that he was brought in for £1 million. He scored over 100 goals, and he's been a major part of the 55th title. I think the way you want that to end is by him going to a big club where he's really happy and he makes a lot of money, and Rangers make a good bang for the buck out of it.
Yeah.
And how you get him there, I don't know. I think that's another huge challenge for Steven Gerrard. Yeah,
I totally agree. I wanted to talk about Gennaro Bakuna, Jonny, of course. Great to see him get his first Rangers goal yesterday. Played in that sort of midfield role. He said afterwards he was speaking to the media, and he says his favourite position is that central midfield position. What did you make of his performance? I think he came out with pass marks. Great to see him getting more game time as well. He seems to be getting more attuned to how this Rangers team want to play.
Yeah, I thought it was really good to see, as I was analysing the loss of the first goal, Gennaro, I keep calling him Junior Bakuna for some reason. Gennaro Bakuna was in the left-back slot there because he was covering for Calvin Bassey, who burst forward. Yeah. So it was great to see that he's starting to pick up that style of Rangers play in which he has to drop in. And he was not at fault in any way for that goal. But he works hard. I think his interpretation of the role is maybe slightly different from some other players that I've played. It's kind of similar to Glenn Kamara, but he's more of a sort of deep lying creator. That's how he tends to play, drops deep and finds lovely passes. And he impressed. I don't think he did much wrong. He burst forward on several occasions. And obviously got the goal. I mean, I thought it was absolutely terrible defending. Schoolboy defending for this goal. I mean, appalling. He took 3 touches on the edge of the box. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that the English pundits watch Scottish football and go, this is a joke league.
Well, that's why there's a bottom in the league, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely diabolical. Malcolm Mackay will be tearing his hair out over that. But what a terrific strike it was. Top corner, there's no stopping it. It's an absolute exocet missile. So a great moment, and I thought he did well. I thought 7 out of 10. I didn't think he was perhaps quite as good as Joshua did in the match ratings. I think you gave him an 8.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
But I thought he performed solidly. For me, there was just good news coming out of the midfield, Derek. Ryan Jack, coming on and getting a huge ovation. I think the biggest cheer of the night. and looked to slot right back in as if he hadn't been away, demanding the ball, showing leadership, but just immediately making his impact felt in that midfield, even though he didn't do anything spectacular. Just his mere presence, you could tell he was there, just kind of storming about, a guy with a lot of experience, a guy who the crowd loves. He just gives that midfield a slightly different identity. And that was obvious from his 20-minute cameo, and it's so good to see him back because we know what he gives.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to touch on Ryan Jack. I think he's been, like Kent, missed in that Rangers engine room. So, like you say, just to G up the players when maybe things are a bit slow and pedestrian, as we've seen many a times this season, just someone just to get in players' faces and get them to move it quicker and take the game by the scruff of the neck. I also wanted to touch on a very interesting role for Nathan Patterson yesterday, Jonny, coming on at left back, no less. What do we make of that? Is there a future for Nathan Patterson on that side of the pitch?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Gerrard was quite funny after the game. He was talking about, he's a young player and it's good for his development to play in different positions. And that's absolutely true. I just think it was more a confluence of circumstances more than anything else. You had Calvin Bassey getting shuttled across to replace Leon Balogun, who obviously went off injured. And then that leaves a spot that needs to be filled at left back. And, he's the obvious candidate because he's a fullback. I don't think Borna Barisic was even on the bench, was he?
No. Must be a knock or something.
Yeah, it was a knock from the European tie. So, yeah, it's just a horses for courses situation. But I thought he slotted in there without, making any errors or anything like that. So I mean, if it's something that he could do, and he could become a sort of a right-footed left back. I think Dennis Irwin was famous for that, wasn't he, Derek? From Manchester United, he's right-footed, but he played left back. There's not many of them, but he's such a good player. But I don't see Borna or Calvin Bassey, who, by the way, I thought was excellent yesterday. Once again, prior to his defensive mistake at the end, have anything to worry about with Nathan Patterson. I don't think that's going to be a long-term solution.
Yeah, before we finish up, just got a wee question here from John who gets in touch. Good morning, gents. Do you think Rangers will have to sell one of the best players in January to the financial figures just posted? It's an interesting question, Jonny. We touched on Nathan Patterson there. I firmly believe that there's going to be clubs putting in offers for him in January, testing Rangers' resolve. I think he is one that may depart. Do you think there may be one or two others possibly heading out the door?
I think it's clear from the books that Rangers don't need to sell someone in January because they know what the shortfall is already. It's already understood. They need $7.5 million, and that will be provided by Douglas Park and John Bennett. So they don't need to sell anyone in January. Now, would it be prudent to sell someone in January? That's perhaps a different story.
Yeah.
Whatever your answer to that question is, it has to be balanced up with, will it affect the bid for the league? Because the truth is, if Rangers qualify for the Champions League, no one's talking about finances anymore. Yeah. Because the direction of travel in the accounts, and we had a financial expert on here, Kieran Maguire, so I know there'll be people watching this who have a different persuasion, who have a different opinion about Rangers finances, who'll say I'm talking rubbish, but this is from a University of Liverpool academic who's an expert in football finance, who says the direction of travel of Rangers accounts is looking good in terms of where they're going. So I don't have too many concerns. It's never good news when a club loses 23 million. It's obviously bad news, but it has to be put in a context of £17 million spent on players, £5 million spent on the stadium and its environs. There has been serious capital spend to help get Rangers back to where they need to be. And the two things in the accounts, they need 7.5 million to end this season, which is going to be provided by these directors. And then they'll need 0.4 million for the season after that, which will be provided by the directors. Now, if Rangers stick to that, they'll be fine. And then you've got the Champions League money on top of that if they can get that. That would be completely game-changing. So whatever they do, they have to make sure that they qualify for the Champions League by seeing off what is looking like a very strong Celtic title challenge.
Yeah.
And the way to do that wouldn't be to sell top players. However, Derek, you raise a great point about Nathan Patterson. Nathan Patterson's not one of Rangers' top players. He's a substitute.
Yeah.
So if an Everton or a Man United or whoever comes in January looking for a backup right back, well, we know £15 million. It's peanuts. It's a drop in the ocean to English Premiership teams. So if that happens, I think Rangers would be wise to consider it.
Yeah. Okay, Jonny, that will do us there. Thanks everyone getting in touch as ever this morning. Remember to subscribe to the Rangers Review now. Just rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to support top quality journalism covering the club you love. And it was great to see our logo on the LED screens yesterday as well, Jonny, with regards to that. So fantastic to see at Ibrox. Okay, folks, that'll do us there. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll be